Tony Beets is standing in front of a mountain of dirt that every other miner in the Klondike considers worthless garbage. This isn't virgin ground. This isn't untouched paid dirt hiding beneath the permafrost. This is old-timer tailings, material that miners processed over 100 years ago, stripped of everything valuable, and threw away like trash. For an entire century, this pile has sat here rotting while modern miners drove right past it, spending millions to chase fresh ground that hadn't been touched. But Tony sees something nobody else does. He sees gold. Real gold, gold. Laughter. Hi, it's my piece there. If you stand still long enough, I guess I should have brought my glasses. See that? Right there, you can pick it out of the bank. Beautiful gold that those old-timers left behind because their primitive equipment couldn't capture it, and what I'm about to show you is how this insane gamble on century-old garbage is about to produce the biggest Beets family payday in history. But getting there, that's where things almost fell apart. I mean, it was a pretty damn good season. On the end of the day, it's a family business. I had all 3 kids listening. So, it's pretty nice to see. The empire at risk. Tony doesn't think like other miners. That's what makes him dangerous. While everyone else fights over virgin ground, bidding up claim prices and battling for the same patches of dirt, Tony looked at these old-timer tailings and did the math that nobody else bothered to do. That looks like virgin ground to me. There's a nice little piggy bank sitting down there. That is nothing wrong with that. That has to be golden. Those miners 100 years ago had absolutely terrible recovery rates. They didn't have modern wash plants. They didn't have the technology to capture fine gold, the tiny flakes that slip through primitive sluice boxes like water through a sieve, which means real gold, significant gold, got left behind in their waste piles. Tony's theory was simple but audacious: reprocess that material with modern equipment, and you're essentially mining ground that's already been dug up for you. No stripping. No thawing permafrost. Just run the dirt and collect the gold those old-timers missed. Genius. Or the kind of crazy gamble that bankrupts mining operations and destroys reputations. This season would tell. But here's what made this bet even more dangerous: Tony wasn't running one operation. He was running an empire. Multiple wash plants scattered across the Klondike like pieces on a chessboard. He told me this cut was going to be mine. Mike's got his setup on the hill. Kevin's got his own setup on Scribner. You even gave cousin Mike more responsibility watching the plants out in the Indian River. But it would be nice. Multiple crews burning through fuel and wages every single day. Multiple chances for everything to collapse at once. Wash Plant Harold was processing the old-timer tailings, the garbage dirt gamble. Cousin Mike had 2 operations running at Indian River on Slucifer and Paradise Hill, pulling gold from ground that had already proven itself rich. And then there was Kevin. Kevin Beets, Tony's eldest son. First year running his own operation at Scribner Creek. First year with his name, not his father's, on the line. I got big plans to set up a gold mine and run it my way. We do have a 1,000-ounce goal. This is a big gamble, so me and Faith have to make this work. First year where failure wouldn't just cost money, it would prove every doubter right, and Kevin was already in serious trouble. Earlier this season, equipment failures and crew shortages had put him weeks behind schedule. Breakdowns that should have taken hours to fix stretched into days. His goal of 1,000 ounces, the number he needed just to break even, just to prove he belonged, was slipping further away with every lost shift. Some of Tony's veteran crew had openly questioned whether Kevin was ready for this kind of pressure. Whether carrying the Beets name was a gift or a burden too heavy for a first-year mine boss. Kevin heard every word, every whispered doubt, every sideways glance. And he had 4 weeks left to prove them all wrong. But before anyone could count gold, they had to survive what was coming. Disaster strikes back at the old-timer tailings operation. the wash plant was running hot. Excavator operator Andrew Moran was feeding 100 yards of material through wash plant Herald every single hour. Think about that pace for a second, 100 yards of century-old dirt being processed 60 minutes at a time, around the clock. I and the loader, Roy Hooks, was doing double duty, restocking the pay pile with fresh material and hauling the rewashed tailings to a dump site 200 feet away. Every movement was precise. Every minute accounted for. This wasn't casual mining. This was a precision operation designed to squeeze every last flake of gold out of dirt that most miners considered worthless. The operation was humming like a machine, then the radio crackled with words that stop every miner's heart. I got hooked on something there. The water pipe, the absolute lifeline of any sluicing operation, had burst. The water leaking is a big issue because it creates a mess. It eats out my bank behind my sluice box and it'll wash away the whole thing underneath it. If I leave that water to go, I'm going to eventually stop my sluice box from being able to shake. So it's got to get fixed now. Water was shooting everywhere, spraying across the cut like a broken fire hydrant. The pump was screaming under pressure it wasn't designed to handle. Monica grabbed the radio immediately. Monica, the pipe's bursting. He's going to turn the pump off. Here's the catch that makes this moment so critical. Every minute that wash plant sits idle costs Tony approximately $6,000 in gold. And there are still 4 weeks of dirt left to process. A burst pipe doesn't just mean lost time. It could mean hours of downtime, days if they needed to order replacement parts from Dawson or Whitehorse. The kind of catastrophic delay that turns a record-breaking season into a financial disaster. Monica didn't panic. She didn't freeze. She assessed the damage and made a call. Hey, my pipe burst down at the Hester cut. Do we have a collar and a breather? Not a full replacement. Not hours of cutting and welding new pipe sections. A field repair. The kind that only works if you know exactly what you're doing and have the confidence to make the call. Mike's voice came back through the radio. Yeah. Okay. I'll be down there as soon as possible. What happened next was mining MacGyver at its absolute finest, working fast. They installed a rubber-backed metal collar around the damaged section to seal the hole, then screwed in a breather valve. Now, if you don't understand mining hydraulics, here's why that breather matters so much. Without it, air gets trapped in the pipe. When you restart the pump, that trapped air creates a lock, a bubble that blocks water flow completely. And an air lock means no water moving through the system, which means a dead wash plant sitting useless while gold stays in the ground. The breather lets the trapped air escape, keeping water flowing smooth and steady. So here's the collar. We're going to put it around the hole. Mike's going to put a breather right here. That is a quicker fix than replacing the pipe. They completed the entire repair in minutes. Not hours, minutes. That ain't got to be pretty. And they were right. It didn't need to be pretty. It needed to work. Nice geyser. We're ACE. Good to go. Pipes all fixed. Now we're ready to fire up. This is not patched. Hopefully it lasts a while, but knowing how it works, it won't. But for now, it's got me sluicing again. Tony arrived just as the wash plant roared back to life. Yeah, it's okay. We had a bit of an issue with the pipe. Luckily, it was a quick fix. Put a collar on, put the breather in, back to sluicing. Then Tony said something that mattered more than the repair itself. Something that revealed what this season was really about. You made the right decision. You're going to be the boss that makes the call. Monica had just proven she could lead under pressure. One more piece of the Beets family legacy clicking into place. The weigh-ins begin weeks later, mining complete. Every wash plant finally shut down for the season. Every ounce of gold cleaned, dried, and ready for the scale. This was Judgment Day for the entire Beets empire, with 5,290 ounces already banked from earlier in the season. Tony was sitting just 5 ounces short of his best ever gold haul. 0.5 ounces, after everything: the old-timer tailings gamble, the burst pipes, the sleepless nights, the millions spent on fuel and equipment and wages. 5 measly ounces stood between Tony Beets and his greatest season in mining history, and there was still gold to weigh. What are we weighing first? I think the smallest first. And it can only get better. First up, the old-timer tailings from Wash Plant Herald. The garbage dirt. The century-old waste that Tony bet his entire reputation on. While other miners laughed, the gold poured onto the scale. 0.46 ounces, worth $124,000, 4, 5, 10, 30, 40, 46. 46 from dirt that other miners threw away 100 years ago. Tony leaned in, already calculating. So how many hours did you have then? Like 76-ish. So give or take 5 an hour. The math worked. The garbage dirt gamble was paying real dividends, but that was just the appetizer. Next, Cousin Mike's Indian River gold from Slucipher. The operation that the video title promises. The scale settled at 211.88 ounces, worth over $565,000. All right, here comes Lelit. 20, 50, 90, 100, 110, 160, 200, 211.88. Mike's eyes went wide. Indian River was delivering exactly what Tony had predicted. Then Paradise Hill, Mike's second operation, 228.7 ounces hit the scale, worth over $600,000. Tony was running the math in his head before anyone else could add it up. The numbers were building toward something historic, something unprecedented, but there was one more pile of gold waiting to be weighed. And this one was deeply personal. Kevin's moment. How's it been going out at Scribner, guys? Oh, not too bad. Obviously finished mining, got everything wrapped up. Kevin Beets stood in front of his gold pile with the weight of an entire season pressing down on his shoulders. 3 weeks of sluicing, months of breakdowns and setbacks, an entire year of proving himself while veteran miners whispered that he wasn't ready. It all came down to what was about to hit that scale. We set ourselves a goal of 1,000 ounces this year. We aimed pretty high. That's why we needed to break even. To hit his target, Kevin needed 320 ounces from this final weigh-in. Anything less in his first year as mine boss would officially be a failure. The doubters would be proven right. The whispers would become shouts. Well, let's weigh it up. Let's see what we got. I'm very curious to see what you guys got out of that. The gold poured onto the scale. 10, 20, 40, 50. Kevin's jaw tightened visibly. 80, 90, 110. The pile kept coming, kept building. 140, 150. 180. 190. Tony watched his son's face, reading every flicker of emotion. 200. 250. 260, almost there. So close. 300. 310. 320, he hit his target. Kevin Beets officially broke even, but the gold kept coming. 360. 375 ounces. Worth just over $1 million. Kevin exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for 4 straight months. Oh my, such a relief. I can finally pay everyone off, right? Tony looked at his son in that moment, the kid who had heard every doubt. The first-year mine boss who had been weeks behind schedule with equipment falling apart around him. The next generation of Beets miners standing on his own 2 feet. For your first year, Kevin, that is a heck of a lot better than most of them do. I'm happy for you guys that you succeeded. Manny ran the final calculations. Every operation, every ounce from every wash plant across the entire Beets family empire, all of it consolidated into one historic number. Where does that put us, Manny? 5,777.12 ounces. So you're 777 over your target. That sure is a hell of a lot better than last year. But that wasn't the number that truly mattered, the combined total, Tony's operations, Mike's Indian River haul, Kevin's redemption season at Scribner, all of it together, 6,834 ounces, worth $18.30 million. Tony Beets, for once in his life, didn't try to hide how he felt, that is more than ever before. So, and with the prices of today, that is significant money, right? I'm pretty happy with that. Someone asked the obvious follow-up question, and Tony's answer was pure gold. What do you mean? Yeah, I'm happy. The garbage dirt payoff. Remember that mountain of dirt everyone else considered worthless garbage? The old-timer tailings that miners threw away 100 years ago? The century-old waste piles that every modern operation drove past without a second look, chasing fresh ground that cost 10 times as much to develop. Tony Beets looked at that dirt and saw what nobody else could see. He bet his season on material that every expert in the Klondike said was completely played out, and that gamble, combined with Indian River delivering massive gold, combined with Kevin proving every single doubter wrong, combined with a family that knows how to fix a burst pipe in minutes instead of hours, just produced the biggest payday in Beets family history, $18.3 million from garbage dirt and family grit. Tony once said something that explains everything about how he built this empire. A lot of people would certainly like to be in my position to have a bunch of kids and be able to set them up. They better succeed because at the end of the day, it is still a business, right? And then, watching his children step up this season, Monica making the pressure call that saved the operation, Kevin crushing his goal when everyone doubted him, Tony added something that mattered even more. All the kids, they got to do their own. You know, they got to become leaders. $18.3 million. A family proving they're ready to lead. Tony Beets.